In this video, we'll talk about the specialized button controls, specifically the link button and the image button. You're probably already familiar with the standard button control. We know that the button control is used to trigger an action on the web server, so by default it triggers a postback event. However, if you need the button to be styled like a hyperlink or an image, instead of the default Battleship Gray version of the button, you can either use the link button or image button respectively. Let's take a look first of all at the link button. There's really not a lot that's different about the link button other than its appearance. We can change the text here using the text property. So we can change it to look like that. We can change it programmatically. We can style it using a cascading style sheet and so on. However, the image button control has a few additional properties that we might want to modify, not the least of which is the image URL property. To set it, we can use the ellipsis button next to the image URL property in the properties window. That opens up the select image dialog where we can select one of the images from our images folder, in this case. Here we'll select just one of the images, and you can see now that it's an attractive button that may match the rest of the design of our website, but it still operates as any other button control would. There's two other properties that we probably would want to set. The alternate text like you would see on any image button or image in HTML, as well as or possibly a description URL which can be used to dynamically return a description for the image button. In the remainder of the video, we'll want to look at a slightly more advanced usage of the button controls, and that is their usage inside of templated controls such as the grid view control, the multi-view control, the wizard control, and others. If you're not familiar with templated controls, please be sure to watch the other videos in this ASP.NET 2.0 Controls series, as well as the Visual Web Developer for Absolute Beginners video series for more details. The templated controls allow you to replace the default link buttons with your own button controls, and all you need to do is simply modify each template to match your design. To make sure that your buttons set the current mode of the templated controls that are visible by your user, you need to change the command name property of the button controls. Now in this case we're currently looking at the empty data template of a detail view control, and it's displaying a link button that says new address. Let's take a look at the source for this page. As you can see, the command name property of this button is set to new, and when it's clicked, the button sends the new message to the detail view control. The detail view understands that this command name means that it needs to switch to the create new record mode, and the appropriate controls are then loaded into the footer template. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click new address, and when we do, we see our insert template, and in the footer we can also see the appropriate buttons for the insert template, insert and create. Let's go ahead and create a couple records. You can also see now that once we've saved our insertion, we get new buttons here in the footer that are appropriate for the current state of the control. Let's create one more record. Now new button controls are loaded, each one with a command name appropriate to their purpose and label. As we get a few records in our example, you can see that the detail view control displays our image buttons at the very bottom, which have the appropriate images from our images folder in our project. Let's take a look at the source code for this. You see in our footer template we have the new, edit, delete, and insert buttons, the update button, and the cancel button. Additionally, in the pager template you can see we have the first, previous, next, and last buttons, each with their image URL set and each with the appropriate command name set. In this particular case, the command name is page and the argument changes on each control: first, previous, next, and last. And that pager template corresponds with these image buttons here at the very bottom to navigate through our record set. Now, while we've been looking at the source code, you can actually set all the properties of these buttons as well as the templates themselves in the properties window. Let's take a look at the design view for our detail view control, and let's go to the detail view task window and select edit templates. This allows us to select the various templates that are available to us. For example, the empty data template, we can see our button, and we could change the command type of that button, the command name, by going to the command name property and then typing in the appropriate command that we want to use. Same thing would be true for all the rest of the templates, all the rest of the buttons within the footer template control, for example. And then also, as we saw in the pager template, we can not only change the image URL that's being used from our images folder, but then also the command name, which we've set to page, and the command argument so that it navigates through our result set correctly. So to recap, the image button and link button controls provide the functionality of the button control with visual enhancements that allow you to modify it to fit your design. If you want to use the button controls within templated controls, then you're going to need to set the command name property and possibly the command argument property appropriately.